today with Laura Harding from Woolliscrofts Solicitors from Hanley. Hi Laura, lovely to see you here today.
And you, Amanda, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming down, always lovely to see you. Right, I think you've got something to share with us about something very, very exciting that you're going to be doing quite soon.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
I mean, you say exciting. I think it's more slightly terrifying. I've agreed to do a skydive to raise money for Dougie Mac on the 5th of July, which is getting closer by the day.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. So what made you just think, right, yes, I'm taking the bull by the horns, and yeah, this is something that I really want to do?
I've always wanted to do a skydive.
Okay.
But I'm petrified of heights.
Why? Why would you want to do a skydive?
I've just always, my middle brother, he did one years ago when he was travelling the world, him and his wife.
Yeah.
Well, then girlfriend. And he said it was absolutely amazing, and it's just something I've always wanted to push myself to do.
Yeah.
So I'm scared of needles, so I give blood, and I thought it's just a good way of pushing myself to do it.
Yeah, out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Then just tick that off. I did that. You know, it doesn't have a problem with me anymore. It doesn't take over my mind space and so on. I'm doing it, that type of thing.
Yeah, and but it's a bit different with heights.
Yes.
So myself and Alison, we were at the Dougie Mac business event because we're part of their business business group.
Yeah, and sorry, this is Alison.
Alison at work.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So me and my colleague Alison, we were at the Dougie Mac business meeting, and they had on the screen the future fundraising that they've got for the year coming up, and we're like, oh, moonlight walk, yeah, we could do that. And then I saw skydive, and I just thought,
shall I? Shan't I?
I thought there's one reason that I will force myself to do a skydive, and that is to raise money for Dougie Mac. Definitely.
Wonderful. Yeah. So, what is your connection with Dougie Mac?
It's twofold, really. 15 years ago, they cared for my nan when she passed away from cancer. Yeah. They were amazing then, and since then I've always wanted to do fundraising for them when we just done little bits. Yeah. But then 4 years ago, we lost Dad. Sorry, still.
No, you take a minute. You take a minute. Yeah. What's your dad's name?
Aunt.
Right. Okay. Lovely.
So 4 years ago, we lost Dad.
Yeah.
It was all during lockdown. It was a really difficult time.
Yeah.
And it was a really quick fight, if you can call it fight.
Yeah.
He had quite a rare type of cancer called mesothelioma, which is from asbestos exposure. And usually it's the much older generation when it finally shows itself.
Okay, yeah.
But my dad was only 66 when he was diagnosed.
So that's relatively young. So where had he been, where did
he worked in a warehouse storing asbestos when he was younger. Not for very long, I think 6 months to 12 months max. But it was that exposure to the asbestos, and it just takes one fragment and it lies dormant. For a long time he was treated for a chest infection, but I think that's because it was during COVID and lockdown. Yeah. They didn't really want people in surgeries.
You couldn't have the doctors, consultation and so on,
Then they thought it might be pneumonia or pleurisy because there was liquid on his lungs. But then it was the mesothelioma diagnosis that he got. They gave 12 months diagnosis for him for life expectancy, but we only had him for 6. So in those 6 months, Dougie Mac supported us throughout.
Yeah. Even through lockdown, they were there for you and so on. Yeah.
The Dougie Mac nurse would come out and see us. See Dad.
Yeah.
And then when it became quite clear that it was nearing the end a lot quicker because it had spread to his brain, we had Dougie Mac nurses who stayed with us overnight so that we could rest. Because of the restrictions at the time, it was Dad's wish that he wanted to pass away in the hospice, and I think that was because he didn't want us as a family to lose him at home. But because of the restrictions, we'd have had to have picked 2 people to be with him at any time. Okay. And there's me, my mum and my 2 brothers.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you choose?
Exactly.
How do you choose who gets to be with Dad? So we overrode him as a family, and we kept him at home.
Yeah.
And it was the Dougie Mac nurse who was with us in the night that he passed away just after midnight.
And so they were there to support you, and really they gave you that last precious evening or couple of days or whatever, where before he would have had to go into a hospice or hospital or whatever, you'd got him there at home, hadn't you? And they allowed you to do that.
Yeah. And then after losing Dad, we so at the funeral we had any donations for the Dougie Mac.
Yeah.
But then more importantly for me was the counselling that they offered me afterwards, because I didn't. It was hard losing Dad. It was hard because it was during lockdown. I focused on work. I was going to Mum and Dad's in the morning before work, and then back again at night because I lived by myself at that point, so they were my allowed people from the government.
Yeah, your bubble.
Yeah, but it was difficult for my brothers because they didn't live close. They weren't allowed to travel along the motorway to see him.
Oh gosh,
so
you forget, don't you?
Yeah, so Dad's last Christmas, my brothers, we'd all planned to be together, and they couldn't because we went into another lockdown again. So that was difficult, but I think because of the way everything had built up, actually losing Dad did hit me extremely hard, because it was kind of everything just stopped and the brakes had been put on, and I didn't have that reason to get up early to go and look after him. I didn't have that reason to then continue at work late, go to Mum and Dad's afterwards, because it was a lot on my mum.
Yeah, and you
having
wanted
to
to
be
go
the
and help.
carer.
Yeah. And I think when you lose that structure, even though it's an awful structure, you kind of then, you're flailing, aren't you? And it's how do you deal with that time? You almost feel guilty, etc. I've been through it myself, so I know exactly what it's like, and you don't know what to do with yourself. So it's good that they could then speak to you. And how did that help, that counselling?
It was amazing. So it was, they wait a couple of months before they offer it to you because you need time to adjust yourself. Yeah. It's they kind of put it to me that it's no use us counselling you straight away when you need time to adjust first.
Let the dust settle almost. Yeah.
And then obviously because we were still in lockdown, my counsellor was over the phone. But it was so helpful, and she gave me coping mechanisms. She let me talk about my dad whilst crying freely. I mean, luckily work was so understanding, and I'd just shut my office door, let them know that an hour and a half I'd be busy. Yes. And then I could take half an hour to kind of decompress. Yeah. And then get back to it again. Yeah. And to share it, because you couldn't share with your mum this experience because you wouldn't want to burden her. Yeah. Where with a stranger, you can't you? And you can really let things go and talk candidly about how you're feeling, where with a family member you can't necessarily do that. Exactly. And even with a friend in some situations. Yeah. Because they're so involved in your life already that sometimes you do just need to speak to the stranger element of it. Yeah. So I totally get it. So also Woolliscrofts, you do a lot of bits and pieces for Dougie Mac to support them, don't you? Yeah. So probably pushed by myself, we do Dress Down Fridays for Dougie Mac. We do a lot of opportunities when we can. We raise as much money as we can for them. Yeah. I took Alison with me to one of the business events that was actually held at Dougie Mac. Yeah. And when David, the CEO, the CEO of Dougie Mac, when he was giving his speech afterwards, Alison said to me, she's like, "Crikey, I can see why we're doing so much for Dougie Mac." Right. Yeah. They're wonderful. Oh, they're just wonderful. Yeah. And cancer, unfortunately, affects so many people, so many people's lives. And so, it's one of the best charities, certainly in Stoke-on-Trent, that you can support. Oh, definitely. So when I saw the Skydive come up, I thought, there's one reason I'll do this. So I checked with my mum first. Yeah. And I checked with my husband, Graham. Yeah. Mum was a little bit apprehensive at first, and she said, it's because it's for Dougie Mac, isn't it? I was like, yeah. My husband, however, was just like, amazing, do it, jump. Yeah. So I've got the support of them behind me, and
That's wonderful. So going on to the day then. So do I take it there's training beforehand, or is it just on the day?
Yeah, I think it's on the day. From the little bit of research that I've done, I don't want to research it too much, for the sole reason that I don't want to chicken out. I can't chicken out now. I've got too many donations.
Isn't an option. No. Exactly.
Too many donations.
You talk about donations. So what was your donation goal, and where you are, and where do you hope to be?
So my original goal was £390.
Okay.
Because if I raise that, then that kind of pays for it all. Dougie Mac don't need to pay a penny.
I see. Yeah.
I hit that. Then my goal was 500, and I hit that. And then I raised my target to 750. And I've hit that, and I'm at 790 now. So I've raised my target again, and I am determined to get £1,000.
Yeah, you'll do it, Laura. You'll do it, definitely.
So.
Definitely. Well, we want to wish you all the very best for, when is it again, July?
5th of July.
5th of July.
Yeah, at Tilstock.
Exactly, okay. Well, we wish you all the very best of luck, and
Thank
well
you.
done, and be proud of yourself.
I will. I've got to do it first.
You will, Laura, you will.